Hello everyone, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the new Portico 75 from the Key Company. This video is not sponsored by the Key Company. They did send this out. I also don't have my Portico 65 that I actually purchased last year, but I will be making some small comparisons, and if you guys want to reference anything a little bit more in depth, please be sure to look at that review that I will have linked in the description below. But otherwise, today this video is going to be about the new Portico 75, whatever improvements that the Key Company has made that we're going to be talking about, and some things that I would like to be changed for any Portico keyboard going forward in the future. The Portico 75 is going to be going live on March 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for $140. And $140 plus shipping is not necessarily bad for a 75% keyboard in today's market. But let's go ahead and talk about those features that you get for that $140. So it did come in a pretty nice carrying case from C3 Equals, as well as far as the disassembly and reassembly, which is something that I kind of wish wasn't really a thing. Like, I almost wish that this keyboard was pre-built for you and that you just had to lube the stabilizers. Like, that would have been pretty nice, but again, it wasn't really that difficult to pull the keyboard apart and put it back together. We pretty much got it done in about 20-ish minutes if you don't include the time that it took me to lube the stabilizers. Inside the keyboard kit for that $140, you do get a hot swap PCB, an FR4 plate, a felt liner that goes between that FR4 plate and PCB, a silicone dampener that goes inside of the bottom of the case, a 75% case with a knob, C3 Equals new V3 stabilizers that are a pretty decent improvement over the previous version of these stabilizers that I tried and really didn't like, and a braided USB Type-C cable with the Key Company's logo on it that is a lot better than that telephone type looking cable that I think may have come with the previous version, if I'm mistaken. I know for sure it came with the KBD Fans keyboard as well as the Novel Keys NK65, and I would have much rather had a braided USB-C cable that was straight. This keyboard is a 75% gasket mount keyboard with a knob. One thing that I will mention though is that the knob is connected kind of weird. Like, it's not just a knob that you can just pull off. You actually have to use this included little Allen tool to take out a bolt that's holding the knob to the part that connects it to the PCB, and that's how you remove the knob, and you have to do that if you want to take apart the keyboard. So you learn that pretty quick. You just definitely don't want to lose that little Allen key, and if you decide not to put that little bolt back in place to hold the knob in place, then it most definitely will fall off when you turn your keyboard upside down, because I was gonna do that, honestly speaking, but it just didn't stay in. So you gotta make sure that you keep up with that little bolt and that Allen key. The build process is pretty straightforward and easy. Again, it only took me about 20 minutes if I don't include the time that it took me to lube the stabilizers, and while I was doing it I was streaming, so I was also like entertaining and talking about the board and all that good stuff. But if you're speed building this keyboard, you can definitely do so, not including the time to do the stabilizers, in about 20 to 25 minutes pretty easily. The USB Type-C on this keyboard is mounted in the center of the PCB and keyboard, and one improvement that I will note is that the daughter board on this keyboard is definitely a little bit more sturdy compared to the previous Portico, where it seemed like the daughter board was just very easy to well, rip off. And I hope that the Key Company took that feedback into consideration, because that was something that was really annoying if you paid a lot of money for a plastic keyboard in today's market and something really crazy like your USB port coming off of your keyboard was to happen. So I have been testing this one, plugging the USB in and out, and it does feel a bit more sturdy than it was before. As far as the lighting on the keyboard, is nothing that is really impressive. You do have RGB controls that you can use in VIA, and it does have per key RGB lighting as well as underglow that you can change to a single color. And in my opinion, the lighting again is not necessarily all that great, and with the colors of the case not really being overly committed, and we'll talk about that in just a bit, but I don't really love the way that the lighting looks with this keyboard. So I'll be using this keyboard with the lighting off from now on, and we're going to talk about some of the color options next, because it does come in a few different colors. There will be white, gray, purple, and blue options available at launch. Now, as far as the user experience of using the Portico keyboard after it is built, more or less the typing feel is a little bit softer than your average gaming keyboard, or maybe a custom keyboard that is tray mounted or anything like that. The gasket mount does give it a little bit of flex, but not necessarily a ton. For this build, we decided to go with some banana split switches from the Key Company and C3 as well, and we also decided to use GMK laser from Mito, available on Amazon, that I'll have linked in the description below. But here's a quick sound test so you guys can see how this keyboard types and sounds for yourself. So a while ago when I tried the Portico 65% version last year, I wasn't really a huge fan of the way that the keyboard sounded. The feeling of the keyboard was fine, and more or less this feels the same, just a little bit bigger, and the sound profile is also very similar as well. I do enjoy using these banana split switches a bit more compared to the Durock matcha switches that I used before, which more or less are just some standard JWK linear switches or Durock linear switches. The banana splits don't sound exactly the same as those, and they're a bit more higher pitch, and I feel like that works a bit better with the FR4 Plate. So if you're looking for a switch to put in this keyboard, I would go with something that's going to be a little bit more higher pitch to really accentuate a lot of that clack. But if you're looking for a very deep sounding keyboard, I don't really think this is going to be the Thok Lord that you're looking for. It would definitely be a lot better if it had like an aluminum plate or a palm plate for a deeper sound profile. So just be prepared when you buy this keyboard, everything that you put in it is probably going to be extremely clacky. The only thing that could probably tame something like that is probably going to be something that's pretty deep, like a Durock palm switch or an infinity key cow switch. Those are really the only switches that I think would really tame a lot of that poppier sound that you get from the FR4 Plate and some higher pitch switches. And that's pretty much all as far as everything that you get with the keyboard, how the keyboard sounds once it's built and whatnot. But now I have some other things to talk about, because the issues that I have with this keyboard is that I kind of have an issue with the price a little bit, but there are other things that exist in a similar price range, like the NK87, which is not a 75%, it's a TKL, but it is around that $120, $130 price tag, plus tax, of course, and shipping. And this is also going to be, you know, plus shipping as well. So they're in a very similar price range to some other keyboards like Glorious GMK Pro, Keychron Q1 and 2, Odin Game Nova 65. But the difference is these keyboards are plastic and those keyboards are aluminum. So the reason why I would go with a plastic keyboard for a very similar price to an aluminum board is if I wanted to do something that is going to match really well with a specific color scheme, but on a budget. And the problem that I have with the Portico 75 concerning the colors is just that the level of commitment to the color chosen just doesn't seem that high. And more or less that was a huge problem that I had last year with my Portico 65. That was it was in the smoke colorway, but really it was like a light gray, like it wasn't really as smoky as I thought it would be. And the white gaskets also didn't help because it was a darker color and whatnot. And I do understand that this time around they actually put black gaskets, so that's good because it makes them a whole lot less of an eyesore when you really want to focus on the color of the board instead of that little white strip that's very obvious poking out from underneath the shell of the keyboard. And this time around, glad they went with black gaskets again, but I just wish that they would commit a lot more to the color chosen for this essentially injection molded plastic. And what I want to see from the next versions of the Portico keyboard that are still plastic and come in colors, I want to see those colors be a lot more saturated and a little bit more opaque than they are translucent. The translucency doesn't really work that well with the underglow if that's what you're going for, because you see exactly where the LEDs are, and that's the biggest problem why I never really bought the drop alt. I got it sent to me for review because I still kind of wanted to test it and see what it was about, but for the longest time, for the 3 or 4 years that the drop alt was out, I never bought one, even though I wanted to because the form factor of the board looked cool, but just the LED strips just really bothered me. And even to this day, I only give it a recommendation if you can get past that and you'll want to mod the board. There's not really much more modding that you have to do. You don't have to swap the stabilizers like I had to previously to be okay with it, but the commitment or lack thereof to the color is what really bothers me. So the next run of Porticos that come out, I really want to see a huge commitment to the colors chosen. If you're going to go with a purple color scheme, make the keyboard purple, not barely purple, because this is not really that deep. And if I compare it to the NK87 Blue Mint like I have, as you've probably seen in the B-roll, that's pretty blue. Like, it's definitely blue, 100% without a doubt, no questions asked. So with that being said, I want to see a huge commitment to the color of the board chosen in the future on any other Portico keyboards if you're going to be charging this much money. Because otherwise, I think that this keyboard should be less money. I think it should be like 110 bucks, maybe 120, you know, because it's going to be plus shipping and plus tax. So the way that I look at that, like I said again earlier in the video, I'm comparing the plastic keyboards to the aluminum keyboards. Would I rather spend an extra 20, 30 bucks and get an aluminum keyboard with a monochromatic color scheme and just freshen it up with the color of the keycaps that I choose? Or would I rather have the whole build match top to bottom and compromise for a plastic keyboard essentially? Because that's the decision that the customer has to make. And that's really the only decision that you guys have to make as a customer. So with that being said, that brings me to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are interested in the Portico 75, I will have it linked in the description below. That is an affiliate link as well with the key company. So if you guys do that, you will be supporting the channel as well. Also, as a side note, if you guys want to check out some individual Switch reviews, I do have another channel called Tech Kyle where I pretty much just review different keyboard switches and whatnot. So I got some Boba U4Ts, we got some Gateron switches on there, we have some Texie switches. Surprisingly, I think we've only reviewed like one JWK switch, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you guys can check out that channel if you guys are interested in more specific Switch reviews rather than just keyboard or other general tech reviews and whatnot. Just another channel to really go deep down the rabbit hole. But anyways, I digress. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe if it's new. I'll see you in the next video.